How are y'all doing today? I am a gamer on a budget. My name is Roman, and I'm here to talk to you today about the Intel Arc A750 graphics card and whether or not it's worth investing in 2024, and to share my personal experience of owning the graphics card over the last 30 days. I started my PC gaming journey about 2 years ago with a pre-built system from CyberPower PC I purchased from my local Best Buy. It was a Ryzen 3600, an RX 588 gig, and 16 gigs of RAM on a 450 motherboard, MSI motherboard. And it was a great gaming system for going from console to PC, which worked great for the first year I had it. But then all of a sudden I started developing this weird issue with the AMD drivers, which apparently was a common thing, where the 588 drivers would just randomly corrupt, and I was constantly having to bring it into my local PC repair shop and constantly having to have them fix it. So it was starting to become a little less cost effective to own that graphics card. And my lovely wife and son have been pushing me towards doing content creating for years. And I figured I'd finally take the time and invest my time to share my love of gaming, and as my wife calls it, my ass hattery, with the rest of the world, and kind of have a little bit of fun. But I'm doing it with from a unique perspective of somebody who doesn't have a lot of tech experience. I am a lifelong construction worker, not very tech savvy in that fashion, but having to learn how to do this was definitely going to be a little bit of a scary journey for me, but it was one I was willing to take because of the improvements that they've made with the drivers. And so moving into this, the installation was really kind of hectic at first. It's definitely not a plug-and-play scenario. It's kind of like a plug, tinker, and then play. I'm operating on Windows 10, so I had to move from a legacy setting over to UEFI, which that was about a half hour, and then obviously then switching over to rebar and a number of restarts. I'm going to say my installation was it was about an hour and a half. Before I figured out, what I needed to do, got it done, and was playing games. But after that, I have to say that I was just overly surprised and impressed. Running with a Ryzen 3600 obviously is a very budget PC CPU, so it doesn't offer a whole heck of a lot of performance. But the amount of performance I was getting out of the card and CPU combo was downright impressive for me. I was running high settings on most of my games. And anywhere between, depending on the game, like I think Rust would be probably my more lower framed game. On high settings, I was anywhere between 60 and 85 frames with the A750. And I usually ran it was probably about 50 to 60 at best on the 580. And just not only just the frames were better, but the quality of the graphics was so much of an improvement over the 580. I was just tickled pink. Now obviously Intel's release was a train wreck. It was like watching a one-legged duck walk down the sidewalk on a hot day in June. I mean, it was rough, and they've continued to just plow away at getting that driver issue fixed, which has been an amazing journey to see. And I'm saying that because of I think since I've had the card over 30 days, there's been at least 2 updates. I think a third one just came out. But I've noticed an improvement in some of the games. Warframe was one of the games I played that just released with the newer update. And I went from about 140 frames a second to straight out a flat 165. And that was with the 3600. It's just been an absolutely wonderful gaming experience. I don't do day one, and I don't do the pre-releases. Payday 3 absolutely destroyed that for me. My most disappointing game of the year. Thanks Starbreeze for that one, for that lump of coal in my stocking. Moving forward, it's been a really great setup. Obviously Grand Theft Auto has some frame pacing issues. Starfield's kind of a mess. I've seen particle issues with Assassin's Creed. I don't play any of those games other than Assassin's Creed, and I haven't experienced any issues. Doesn't mean that I won't, or that they're not happening. That may be a monitor or system specific issue. but it's not one that I have experienced so far in my journey with this card. So the driver issue with it being the hot button topic with this graphics card series, just understand that this is the foundation for Battle Mage, and Battle Mage is going to be coming out not too far in the distant future, so they're going to need to have this ready for Battle Mage. They're definitely not going to want this to be the train wreck that Arc was when it first came out. But then also to keep in mind, you know, as far as the price point goes, at $200 or $205, $210 for the Challenger edition, which is the one I have. My closest competition right now is the 6600 at $230. And with those drivers from NVIDIA and AMD being so mature, they're not going to be pulling a lot of performance anymore out of those. But with Intel, I mean, their drivers are already at that level with certain games, and sometimes better in other areas. And they're just going to get better because they're still very much in their infancy. So with that kind of a headroom to work with, it may be kind of like little lackluster still now, but you know, by the time Battle Mage comes out, I really don't believe that there's going to be anything in this price point that's going to compete with this. Not from any of the specs that you're seeing out there, not from any of the benchmarks. I really... and maybe I'm wrong, but I really believe that from what I've learned over my 2 years of PC gaming, I think the Intel Arc card is definitely worth investing in. Just from a technical standpoint, they still have a lot of wiggle room, and they've made a lot of headroom already with their drivers. And with this being a foundation for their next gen, they're absolutely going to need to have this dialed in. So I believe it's just going to continue to get better and continue to get better, and we're going to just continue to see massive improvements out of this series, at least until Battle Mage comes out, and we'll see what happens then. They may just say screw it and just abandon the whole series and focus on Battle Mage, but you know, let's hope and pray that's not their path that they're wanting to go. And now, as far as my experience with dual monitors, that's also new. It's something I've only been dealing with for about 2 weeks now since I got another monitor, so I could do streaming and video recording a little bit more seamlessly. I've not had any of the dual monitor issues that I've also heard about, so I'm going to assume that that's probably more of a hardware level compatibility issue, because I've had that also with my old 580. It did not seem to like certain monitors. Even if it was within its spec range, it just certain monitors it just did not like and would not work with. So I ended up going through a few monitors first before I found one that actually worked with the graphics card once it started having some issues. So again, it's not an uncommon issue for even, you know, AMD or NVIDIA from time to time. So I'm not really going to hold that one against them or really kind of look at that as a viable factor for me. I've not had a single issue streaming, video editing, recording, having both of them on for several hours at a time, sometimes for the whole day, depending on what I'm working on. And there's been no issues for me. Driver installation has been consistently seamless so far. I've had no issues. I wish the user interface software was a little bit more user friendly and had a little bit more options for tuning, especially specific tuning. I mean, for me, AMD, that is the one thing that they have just nailed, is their graphics card UI setup. It is a very understandable and user friendly experience. You know, I just wish Intel had a little bit more akin to that. But other than that, as far as streaming, editing, gaming, performance, I've had no issues. This has just been absolutely one of the most pleasant experiences I've had upgrading and working on my PC so far. And now with me having the 5600X over the 3600, I got to be pleasantly surprised again by having you know, another big performance jump. Just in Monster Hunter alone, which is the only game I've played so far since I've switched over. Rust I did a little run through, and I was getting a good 20-30 frame jump out of that. But Monster Hunter is definitely, you know, like, again, the quality of life video improvement definitely went up a few more notches. The frames definitely went up a lot more. I'm actually utilizing my full graphics card. I was really bottlenecked with the 3600 on that one for some reason, but the 56X has opened that up a lot. But again, so if you're looking to know whether or not you should either upgrade, or you found a pre-built with this as an option, or you're switching from console to a PC, whatever your question is about the Arc series cards, I can't speak for the 580 or the 310, but the 750 and 770, they're operating in the same field right now, just the difference of VRAM. I would absolutely recommend these to anybody. It's going to be a learning curve to get it installed, but so far there hasn't been any other learning curve since. It's been an absolute dream to work with this hardware. I couldn't be happier with it, and it's honestly, it's ruined me for NVIDIA and AMD. I don't have any plans on going back. If Battlemage is what it says it is, and they come out with the improved state from what they've learned from the driver issues with Arc, I really feel like it's going to be a hard competitor for AMD and NVIDIA, and they're really going to have to step up their game, which is kind of what this industry needs anyways. It's very stagnant as far as the technology goes at the time being. But I hope you enjoyed my content. I hope you enjoyed my experience. If you've had a different experience, leave a comment below, or you can visit my page on X. You can message me there. If you have any questions that I can answer, I will absolutely answer them. I will always respond to all of my commenters and anybody who takes the time to show me some love and stop by and entertain my ass hattery. So thank you very much for your time, and you have yourself a wonderful day, and I hope this video helped you make a better decision.